you're either getting your signal stolen or you're stealing their signals. I've been stealing signals since 2018 when we were still getting our kicks. So Ohio State was really good at it. They clearly knew our stuff.
Who's the sign stealer at Ohio State?
The production company for the documentary talked to me before the NCAA did. If you see a team go up tempo, there's a 99% chance they are stealing signals.
The show is presented to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Connor Stalions in the news for the last 3 years, but before that, he had the good sense to walk up to me and take a picture at a Michigan game. Here he is, me and Connor, just, two young kids on the road. There you go, Connor. Man, I like your hair better than mine. Why didn't you keep that hair? You don't have to go bald.
Yeah, the Marine Corps kind of did that to me.
Hey, I appreciate you coming out. Hey, let's get right into it. We know what happened with Coach Moore. Give me your take. People are telling me everybody in the building knew it. I got guys all over the place. Did you know anything about this? Was it widely known? What were your interactions with Coach Moore?
I think everything's a rumor until it's true, right? So me personally, I just watch football film all day, so I don't really know what's going on with everyone else. But you hear rumors about things, but I mean, what are you going to do? Hey, I think this might be going on. Until it becomes true, you never know.
Biff Poggi said, and you went around the place. I mean, I haven't been in the locker room for a long time, but the new interim coach said that, the team is devastated, all that kind of stuff. I assume that means that Coach Moore was beloved, and I assume that means everybody is everybody's, shocked by it. But the Michigan culture there, how do you see this going? How do you see this playing out?
I mean, first and foremost, the quality of players that are recruited, along with just the toughness of the program. They're mentally tough. I know it's not a usual thing to go through, but I do think that I know they're playing in the bowl game. Some other teams aren't. I know they had a meeting to discuss if they were going to play, and of course they're playing. And you're already starting to see players at Texas. There's more players at Texas that are opting out and transferring than there are at Michigan. And that's not a shot at Texas. It's just, at Michigan, it's that Midwestern grit that, that people talk about, that, whatever you face, hey, we'll play in a parking lot if we have to. So that's kind of the mentality there.
Connor, did you ever think you were going to jail? I get paranoid about that stuff. I do. I get I'm like, oh man, the feds are sniffing around. What was it like for you when you first found out this was that big a deal?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a shock, right? I think the thing that, when I think back to what was it, a little over 2 years ago, the toughest part was, when I was in Schembechler Hall, I just did my breakdowns and studied film and scouting reports on teams. That was what I did 24/7. And everyone that I knew outside of my family was in that building, right? No one else really knew who I was. And then over the snap of a finger, all of a sudden, your name's everywhere. And simultaneously, you can't talk to the people that you spend 99% of your day with. So, I say, imagine if you took a list of the top 100 people in your life, and then all of a sudden, boom, you can't talk to 98 of them, and your name's everywhere. So it was like a complete 180. That was the toughest part. I think, the weirdest part too was, a lot of people reached out and trying to help, and attorneys and agents and whatnot. And there was an attorney I had for about a week that was pretty big time, like Jay-Z, Donald Trump type attorney. And I'm like, what in the world did I get myself into? I just bought tickets to football games. None of this was, was illegal. It was, maybe violated NCAA bylaws, but like what, what in the world? I got like criminal attorneys reaching out. That it didn't last long once they realized like, yeah, no, there's not really much, this isn't going to go to court or anything. So it definitely was a shock for the first week or two of just absorbing everything, and everyone in my life was people I had just met pretty much.
You didn't really go into hiding, did you? I mean, I know you couldn't talk. There's legal things going on, but I feel like you didn't necessarily. I don't know what the word underground means. What the hell does that mean? But you didn't.
Yeah.
Did you go into hiding?
I mean, the first few months, I did not. I was not in public.
What would
But
happen when you went
once,
in public? What would it be like if you did go to the grocery store, you got gas, or what?
I mean, the first couple months I couldn't tell you, but it's funny. I was actually in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship against Iowa that year, just in the stands, and that was kind of the first realization of like, okay, people aren't trying to murder me. Everyone, people, Michigan fans, hey, can I get a picture with you? Like, oh, okay. It kind of threw me off, but it's kind of like that, especially in Michigan. I even went to the Michigan State game this year in East Lansing, and the fans were great. I was not expecting that, but it's been overall. I'd assume if I went to Columbus, that'd be a different story. But other than that, I mean, it's been fine. It's been good.
Yeah, I know you're close with Coach Harbaugh, but people do feel Urban beat his ass a lot. You came in, you started stealing signs, Harbaugh started winning. That's the feeling. And the numbers, they go that way, right? I mean, I'm an Urban guy, and
So I mean, it's
go ahead.
perceived to go that way, but I've been stealing signals since 2018, and we were still getting our ass kicked. So, I think it's one of those things where Ohio State was really good at it, and like I remember 2018 in Columbus. I mean, they clearly knew our stuff. Every time we're in cover one, they're running mesh rail. That's not a coincidence. And and I knew their stuff, but the problem was it's kind of like a cat and mouse game in football. It still goes on today, where if the offense is going up tempo, the defense has to signal, right? Because you can't huddle as a defense if the offense is already aligned. And they were getting their play in after we were. So we would signal our defensive play, say we signaled cover one, they see it's cover one, they call their cover one beater. And then in 2021, that kind of changed when Mike McDonald came in, and probably, you can see it in Seattle, probably the smartest coach I've ever been around. And he basically, said, hey, I heard we're getting our signal stolen. What do we need to do? And it was pretty much just, hey, you just got to signal after they signal. Be the cat, not the mouse. And that's really the only thing that changed. And obviously, I think it was more so with that Ohio State game. They were not able to get our coverage, and that kind of made them uncomfortable because that's what they were doing for the previous X amount of years. But yeah, you could definitely see the change in 21. But obviously, you can also point to the recruiting class of JJ, Donovan, Rod Moore, and I think a lot of things started to turn the corner after that COVID year.
All right, I've said this from a coaching standpoint. I had my player or my assistant coaches, I would have them watch film, and I'd say, all right, whatever you can get off tape, steal every sign they got, right? And I would have a guy that, would look down when they were calling. But it's different when you go to a game or some, Central Michigan, you're on the side. That's different. Did you know the difference? Did you care? How do you address that part of it from a coaching perspective?
Yeah, now that Central Michigan one's a different thing because that first of all, Michigan State hadn't changed their signals in 3 or 4 years, and I mean it's out now that they asked me to be there to help them. So, other than that one game, it was really just analyzing film from who you're going to play.
So it wasn't you bought tickets for guys to sit across and steal signs?
Well, yeah, but it's film, right? I mean, it's no different than what Fox does, right? And And I mean, I'm not going to get into who, but I could name 10 teams that do the same exact thing, probably still.
But your thing was you bought tickets, and you're saying you just bought tickets for friends. It had nothing to do with stealing signs.
Well, I mean, would they film sometimes? Like, yeah. But again, I mean, I know there's definitely, I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes, but I don't care to get into the rabbit hole of who is doing what. But I mean, there's 4 teams in the Big Ten that were doing the same exact thing.
When you would go back, and I told my coaches, like, hey, I don't give a shit. You tell me, if they call red one, and I know what it is, but we did it obviously either at the game or off of TV. But when you went back and your plan was elaborate, like I said this, I'd hire you tomorrow if I was if I was a head coach. I would. How did you develop the whole plan, the whole thing that you did? Because it's elaborate, at least what I read, Connor. This is not just like, some grad assistant that used to play at Temple coming in, man. This is some smart shit.
You talking about just like overall?
Yeah, overall.
I mean, like going back to the Marine Corps and like the big picture of like a career plan type of thing, or are you talking?
No, I'm talking about the actual plan
specifically with
when you developed your sign stealing deal.
Yeah,
it is a hell of a lot more elaborate than anything I've ever seen. How did you develop that particular thing?
Yeah, I think it developed over time where the biggest change that I made was between 2021 and 2022. In that off season, I recognize that pretty much every team has everyone's signals. They know what they mean, but the thing that puts you over the edge is how quickly you can essentially relay what you're seeing in real time. Because obviously, in football, there's so many possible formations, motions, pass protections, run concepts, route concepts. And I mean, if you were to, in theory, take every single signal and just list them, you'd have a list of 150, 200 plus signals. So for me, it was understanding the image recognition in, hey, if I'm seeing something, I don't have to translate it to English words in my mind and then find it on my sheet and then translate it into what we call that play. So that whole offseason, I developed, it had to have been over a couple thousand pictures of myself doing pretty much every possible signal I've ever seen. And then every time I see a signal in film, I would just grab it, put it on my sheet. And then by the end of the week, I've memorized kind of like, you're playing really just any image recognition game where by Friday, Saturday, game day, I know where every picture is. So I don't have to translate anything. So every time I see something, I can spit it out in less than a second.
Who did you relay that to?
I would relay it to the coordinator. So if it'd mostly be formation. So again, it's that cat and mouse game where if he's waiting to call his play, and for example, Mike McDonald, he clearly he knows what he's doing, and he knows, hey, it's third down. They're most likely going to be in 3-by-1. I'm going to call, whatever cover 3 I want to be in. And if he called that, the offense would be able to see what he called and get into the right play. So he's really waiting on me just to talk. It's kind of like a red light, green light. Like, hey, until I talk, you got a red light because they can get our signal. So he would wait till I talk. Now, I don't want to just, me being the competitive person I am, I don't want to just say, hey, they're signaling. If I know what it is, I'm going to say what it is. So, by the time I'm finishing with the formation and the motion, he'd be calling his play. And, and then obviously if I knew what it was after, it's kind of like watching film in real time. It's not like you're able to communicate with the 11 players on the field what they're going to do. So it was more of a, hey, while they're snapping the ball, we have a good idea that they're going to be, running. And it wasn't even really past concepts, more just, hey, if it's a 6-man protection, they're going to run one of these 4 or 5 route concepts. But, I'd say, if anything, the actual help for the coordinator is just knowing when he's got the clear to signal. So we're not getting, we're not the mouse in that cat and mouse game.
And it was both sides, right? It was more on offense because you just didn't.
Well, it was more for our defense because most teams in college football steal defensive signals. Because most offenses are up tempo, so they use that to their advantage. But we huddled. We were one of, I think we had the 3rd slowest offense between snaps in college football. You can't really steal signals when you're huddling because while you're in the huddle, they're signaling. I mean, what are you going to do? You already called your play. So, I didn't really spend much time during the week focusing on opponent defenses because I knew we're going to huddle 90% of the time. So it's kind of irrelevant.
Do you feel like they made you a scapegoat in any way? Michigan, Harbaugh, Moore, anybody?
I mean, I don't think the coaches, the people in Schembechler Hall who were getting interviewed, I don't think they really, they couldn't talk to me. They couldn't, do anything. So I think they just kind of, they did their interviews and kind of, and I'm able to read through every interview. So there really wasn't much for them to say, maybe above them in the athletic department. It felt that way a little bit because the athletic department never talked to me once. That was kind of weird. I felt.
Why do you think that was? What do you make of that?
I'd be speculating. I don't know. I mean, it was the last day that I was in Schembechler Hall. Some of the athletic department members came down and took my work phone and everything, work computer, and I remember saying like, hey, do you need, like, what questions do you have? Like, I can explain everything, whatever. And it was, oh no, that's not necessary right now. So, okay. So I went to practice that day and then went home. And then at midnight was like the first article with my name. And that's kind of when, things really started to speed up and change. And, and then I was suspended with pay, but there really wasn't much communication from the university, from the athletic department. So it was kind of weird. Another weird thing was like reading. I was getting more of my information from the media too. Right. So it was like, I go on, I go online and see, oh, the NCAA knows and can prove X, Y, and Z. I'm thinking, well, no one's talked to me. What do you mean they can prove it? So, again, the athletic department little communication in those first few weeks. The NCAA never talked to me until like January after the season. So that whole first 3 months was like such a whirlwind, but it was also confusing because no one had talked to me, like nobody.
So who did talk to you? Who like, did the government, did the feds? I mean, who did say anything to you? You just were told, hey, look, you're done, go home.
Yeah. I mean, that was pretty much it. My attorney talked to me. That was, again, like this was never a legal thing. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The first 24 hours, I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? Is like, I don't even know the capabilities of the NCAA. Are they going to be at my door? Like, no clue what's going on. But it was pretty much radio silence. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The production company for the documentary talked to me before the NCAA did. That was kind of the weird, like, and personally, it felt like, how are people writing this stuff? And they don't, like, no one actually knows what happened. Like, people, oh, did Coach Harbaugh know? I've had like 3 or 4 conversations with Coach Harbaugh the whole year. You know, everyone in Schembechler Hall is pretty. You show up, you do your job. You know, it's kind of like the linebackers coach that I work for. He's not asking how I make the cut ups for the linebacker meeting, right? Like everyone's so busy doing their thing. So you're not really having a lot of conversations outside of, you know, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. So, you know, I thought it was weird just kind of reading everything and, you know, people reporting on everything as if they knew what was going on, and whoever their source is, you know, well, I'm not the source. So, you know, could you piece some things together? But that's kind of where a lot of the conspiracy started too, because I wasn't allowed to talk, right? So I'm not allowed to talk about an ongoing investigation, but at the same time, the NCAA is not talking to me. So it's like, well, do I comment? But if I comment, then I violate an NCAA bylaw. If I don't comment, I'm just letting people run with whatever narrative. So it was kind of a catch-22. I, you know, it's kind of in a weird spot.
Connor, I maybe I worked for weird people, but I coached for a long time, and you know, I get it. ADs, assistant ADs want to talk to the head coach, maybe coordinators in football, but your name was attached to their brand. It's hard for me to fathom being an athletic director, whether it was Warde Manuel or whoever the assistant AD that was over football, didn't at least have a conversation. That tells me they didn't want to know what you knew. They were trying to just keep themselves over here, so I don't have to answer to anybody. That's what that tells me.
It felt like that, which was also, again, a little, I don't know if confusing is the word, but
ever piss you off?
Point, a little bit. I mean, I can, you know, I've been through stuff. I can, you know, I can take it, but
yeah,
it was more confusing for me because, like, well, wouldn't you want to know? That way, you're not allowing the media to control the whole narrative. So they went through the first X amount of months with just reacting, you know, kind of in reaction mode to the media rather than anticipation mode. So, but you know, hey, control what you control. I had no control over that.
So when you said you weren't allowed to talk with NCAA bylaws, who told you that? Was that your attorney that told you that said, look, just shut up. You don't want to break any NCAA rules.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the hope of coaching again, you didn't want to show cause, that kind of thing.
Yep. I mean, it's also a little bit, their bylaws themselves are they contradict themselves because, you know, they say you can't talk about an ongoing investigation. And so, for example, in the hearing that we had, they were upset that we did a documentary, but at the same time, it says you can confirm, correct, or deny anything made public. And, you know, for the first few months, of course, counsel tells me, hey, just lay low, right? Just like any attorney would. But it was also like, well, the NCAA kind of made my whole life public. So is that not like, am I not allowed to talk about my life? Right. Like, so that's kind of the play with the documentary. It was like, well, you made my whole life public and your bylaws do say that you can correct, confirm, or deny information. So, you know, that's kind of, obviously I had to do the documentary for a couple of reasons. One of the coaches in the NFL, I didn't want to do a documentary. And then one of the coaches in the NFL, I thought I'd be blacklisted. And then a few different people, agents, coaches told me like, well, I think you might be blacklisted right now and you have to do this to unblacklist yourself. And that's kind of the perspective that changed my approach to, okay, fine. I guess it does make sense to do this. So that's why I did the documentary.
Yeah, I'd go the other way. Like I said, I'd go the other way. If you were cleared, I'd hire you tomorrow to be my operations guy. I mean, I would. They can kiss my ass. I mean, I've been, you know, I've said that. I've said that many times. Is there anything in that documentary, maybe a narrative of you that came out that you'd like to set the record straight? Because as you mentioned, Connor, I've had articles written about me, and they're never accurate. Like not
Yeah.
one single freaking in my life, and I assume that's what you're telling me right now. They're never freaking accurate. It's all bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, if I've learned anything in the last 2 years, right? And you don't have a choice as a coach, especially as a head coach, right? So the more of a public figure you are, the more you have to deal with the media. And if I've learned anything with the media, it's one, you don't have a choice, right? I mean, the media is going to do what the media does, and two, um, there are very few people in the media who actually do the digging and find out, the actual truth before they report. It's obviously a kind of speak before you think type of business. Not everyone, but and then the second part is once one person does something, then it's like, hey, that's the direction of the stream, and it's very difficult to swim upstream. So everyone just kind of goes with the flow and jumps on board with whatever the first person said. And then once that happens, it's like, well, shoot, how are you going to, how does it go back upstream? And so, there's usually in life, there's one story, then there's the second story, and then the truth is somewhere in between, right? But most viewers, just the average Joe Schmo that is, the consumer of the product of the media, just kind of does the same thing and just assumes like, oh, okay, I'll flow with, go with the flow here. And so I personally don't really let media get to me. Like, hey, it's a business and people are going to do what people are going to do. So I don't really care. As far as the documentary, I wasn't the producer or director, so I didn't get to choose exactly what was in it. But obviously the only way to make it was to kind of ask me, who I thought from on the Michigan end, or hey, they obviously couldn't have interviewed certain people without me suggesting those people to interview. And then I thought they did a good job. I only watched it one time. I watched it before it came out with my attorneys. Just kind of, they showed us the hey, here's where we think we are with it. And then I watched it the day it came out just to make sure what I saw was what I saw the month prior. But I mean, overall, I thought it was really good. And obviously certain things like that Brohio guy, like, I don't know if I would have put him in personally, but it was, I mean, I think it got part. Here's the other thing too. We didn't know the full story at the time that it was filmed, right? Like we found out more going into the NCAA hearing and even in the hearing and after the hearing, and shoot, there might be more to find out. So I give credit to Micah Brown, the director, and Mav Carter, the producer, for, they said, hey, they reached out to me and during the season before the national championship against Washington. And then after that game, it was about a 1 to 2 month time frame that they were, I guess, negotiating with Netflix. And then I got contacted by the production company and the director in like March. And they said, hey, you ready? Said, yeah, sure. Well, what are we doing? He said, this is going to be the quickest documentary ever made. We have till June. I'm like, oh, okay. So they filmed that whole thing in a couple months. And it's funny, the film from the actual national championship game was Micah Brown, the director, just from his cell phone. So he went to the national championship game with me. The Mav Carter set up a Zoom with me and Micah and said, hey, we haven't even signed anything yet, but if we're going to do this, we think that Micah will be the director that we go to. What are your thoughts on him going to the game with you? I said, well, I don't want like a camera crew or anything. I just want to go to the game. I mean, it's my guys, I just want to hopefully see him win the national championship. And he said, "Oh no, don't worry, you won't even notice. It'll just be on his phone." I'm thinking like, what's he going to do with a cell phone for a documentary? Well, sure enough, I mean, all that footage from the stadium that day was just him kind of in the background, just kind of, laying low. And it was great. Probably the best thing they did for the whole story.
Do you feel like a lot of people feel like the 2022 college football playoff was impacted by sign stealing? Clemson, Tennessee fans, South. What do you feel? Do you feel how big an impact do you think that all had in 2022 and other years?
Are you, like, during the playoffs?
Yeah,
or
during the
just that
national
season?
the whole thing.
I mean,
Yeah,
well, I wasn't even there the last 8 games of the year, right?
right.
So I would, and I was legitimately concerned from a winning and losing standpoint for Michigan, like that Ohio State game, thinking, uh-oh, like, is this back to 2018 where they are going to be the cat and we're going to be the mouse? Because I mean, and you can run through the numbers, and if you really watch the tape from 2018 and 2019, Ohio State would hard count, right? They'd get to the line of scrimmage, they'd clap but not snap it to get forcing you, the defense, to call your play, and then they would look to the sideline and get their usually beater for whatever you called. So I was a little worried, like, well, shoot, they still have their sign stealer, and now we don't have ours. So, I felt like, well, I know we were at a disadvantage. Now we had, and Coach Minter had enough experience in the signal protecting world, essentially, to just know, hey, I can just look across the sideline and see them start to signal. And then, okay, now I'm in the clear. So I guess you don't really need me for that. But I was a little concerned about, well, I mean, if you don't know when they're going to hard count, then you're going to definitely be signaling first. And but once they got through that Ohio State game, I mean, I think Bama and Washington. I mean, the Bama game clearly was. I mean, that was the game. The winner of that game was winning the national championship. But there was no one on our staff that was stealing signals in the last 8 games. So, that's why I was personally a little confused why people were, hey, good job, we're not winning that without you. Like, well, they did. I wasn't there the last 8 games. So,
Yeah. Let's break some news. Who's the sign stealer at Ohio State?
I'm not trying to out anyone. I mean, at the end of the day, too, no, I'm not. I also don't want to protect Ohio State, but it's, to be honest with you, I think they have kind of stopped this year because they've huddled. It's kind of the same approach Michigan took. They were doing it on offense. Now, I mean, I'm sure they were doing it on both sides of the ball. I didn't really care about their defense and our offense.
Yeah.
But once they started huddling, it kind of, there's no use for it. But there are definitely teams in college football. If you see a team go up tempo, there's a 99% chance they are stealing signals because, well, I mean, why wouldn't you? If you're going up tempo, forcing the defense to signal, hey, but Ohio State, in credit to them. Thank you, Indiana, for doing what Michigan didn't do this year. But credit to Ohio State. Probably the smartest thing Ryan Day did this year was really slow it down. And you see all the numbers that they saved an entire game, a game's worth of reps for their starters. But with that, not going up tempo, you can't really steal signals. So maybe they do it on defense, but again, a team can prevent that by just huddling themselves on offense.
You mentioned the 2023 playoff, but a lot of people mentioned the 2022 playoff, and you were there, correct?
Yes. Oh, so you're talking the TCU?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you think that impacted?
None. I mean, The TCU game,
because Sonny Dykes
I
said they had to prepare for you guys having everything, right? He was a bit of a victim,
he
correct?
did, yeah. But I mean, I've even talked to some TCU players from that team, and they've confirmed what I mean, I'm not dumb. I know, like I know what they changed. I'm watching. I'm at the game. I'm watching what they changed. They changed a lot of their signals from the coach to the quarterback. So the way that those air raid offenses do it in communications, whether it's USC, TCU, Clemson, is the coach signals to the quarterback, and then the quarterback signals to everyone else. So they changed a lot of the signals from the coach to the quarterback, which I figured that's pretty doable because you just got to get one guy on board with that. But they didn't change anything from the quarterback to the receivers. So, I mean, it just delayed it 2 seconds. But I mean, that I was just as dialed in that game as I was, any other game. We just, I mean, and this is football, right? Like you can know what they're going to do, you cannot know what they're going to do, but if you tackle well and you block well, you're going to win.
No, I
So,
get that, but then
that
people argue,
game,
then why do it? You know.
well, yeah, I mean, you want to get every edge, right? And it's like kind of the same thing with that Ohio State is if they're going to run mesh rail every time you're in cover one, well, we got to protect our signals and then might as well in the process. I mean, it's one of those things where you're either getting your signal stolen or you're stealing their signals, right? There's really no in between because they're doing it. So if you don't do it, then you're just letting them do it. So like TCU did a great job of stealing our signals. I mean, they knew, hey, every time they're running a simulated pressure cover three, they figured out, well, a lot of those calls are based on the alignment of the running back. So you're either running it to or away from the running back, the pressure. So like if the back is to the field, then they know the nickel's going to blitz. But if he hops to the boundary, now they know the corner's going to blitz, or vice versa. And they figured out when we were in those calls, and you notice every time they hopped the back right before the snap, they knew that would screw up our communication where, hey, there was one touchdown they had where they caught us in that cover three simulated pressure to the back, and they hopped the back and they snapped the ball right after they hopped the back. So our corner thought that it was one thing, our nickel thought that it was the other. So the safety rotation was all screwed up, and we had a guy uncovered. If they didn't score, it was like a 50-yard gain on that play. But I mean, that's basketball, football. It's all a chess game of who you want to have the final say in the schematic call.
How much did Harbaugh know about all this?
I mean, he knew that I stole signals. That's about it. I mean, he's, again, as the head coach, I mean, you're not talking to your assistant linebacker, the analyst for the linebackers. So I probably had 3 conversations the whole year with them. And I think they were all 3 about recruiting, hey, so-and-so is coming in, and, you're
But
meeting
you
with
were
them at
by
such
him
and
all
such
the
time.
time. You were important. Like when in Bob Knight world coaching, if you sat next to the head coach during the game, you were the coach that did the scouting report, but you were next to Harbaugh. You were next to these guys the whole time. I mean, he had to know that you were up to some good stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess the example I'd use is if I'm a coordinator or head coach, whatever, fill in the blank, and I have, say, 20 people I'm in charge of, and all 20 of them are doing a good job, then great, right? But if one of them's not doing a good job, then I'm going to focus my attention on that one. Hey, how can we get him up to speed? So if you're good at what you do, I mean, it's not like, how is he doing that? I need to figure out how he's doing that. It's hey, good job, keep it up. Like, I mean, it's kind of everything in business.
There was a lot of stuff. Weiss, the offensive coordinator, now with Moore, and the younger guy getting arrested and geared, soliciting, Shemmy Schembechler. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that went on there, Connor. I mean, and Harbaugh eventually, I don't know if he's banned, but was it a 10-year show cause? I mean, there's a lot of shit that went on in there, Connor. What was that like?
I mean, when I was there, so I remember I haven't been there since I haven't been in the building since October of 2023. So at that time, there really wasn't a whole lot going on. I mean, I know Coach Weiss was let go, but no one knew why. So I didn't. I mean,
even
a
know
lot
why.
of that.
They kept that pretty good, huh? No.
Yeah, I didn't know why he was let go. I just know he was let go, and then I don't think there was anything else before my thing, but even with Coach Weiss getting let go, it's one of those things where, I mean, in your mind, again, you don't know what you don't know, so you just figure like, well, I mean, hey, this is the business, right? You don't win, you don't, if you don't produce, like, it is what it is, and then you move on. And I think the mentality was for everyone. It's always, hey, if there was anything, that I think back to my time in Michigan in the building, everyone was very aligned with what the goal was, to win a national championship. And, everyone goes to Schembechler Hall every day and is focused on that one goal. And it's kind of one of those things where everyone knows their lane that they're operating in. And like, yes, everyone was close, right? Like, it is a very family oriented program. But at the same time, it's not like you're, poking into, hey, how is this coach doing that? How's that coach doing that? Like, you just trust that everyone's doing their job and operating as best, to be the best in their lane in the whole country. And, in the goal to win the national championship.
Do you want to get back into college coaching? You want to coach? I mean, I know you're coaching high school.
Yeah.
You want to get back in, and where do you think your odds are? What do you think your chances are? What are people telling you?
Well, I think there is a realistic possibility of something in the NFL. I think this year the timing was just unfortunate because everyone knew that the NCAA hearing decision wouldn't be till, I mean, it was during football camp, right? It was like a week before the first game. So you're not, I mean, you know this, you're not going to hire any staff member right at the beginning of the season. Like, those hires are always made in January, February in football. I'm sure, April, May in basketball. College, I mean, who knows? Obviously I have the show cause, but hey, you saw Jeremy Pruitt, Alabama.
Right.
So you never know.
That just happened yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
That's why I
Alex
asked about
needs a defensive analyst at Auburn, hey.
That's why I asked about college, because I wouldn't have asked. And then yesterday, every time the NCAA gets sued, are you suing anybody? Is there anybody to be sued here?
As of right now, TBD.
Oh, okay. I got you. From you haven't been there in a while, but you know the landscape.
Yep.
Are you disappointed in Warde Manuel? Are you ambivalent? Where are you with the leadership at Michigan right now, given all that's transpired and all that apparently is going to transpire as another investigation's coming?
Yeah, I mean, I have my personal opinions. I'll keep to myself. Again, I just think back to my personal experience about the and I get it. It was unique. It was a unique situation, but I figured, why would you not want to know?
Yeah, why wouldn't he talk to you?
And just constantly be in reaction mode. Yeah, so I don't know. That's about as much as I'll say about that. I will say with Michigan, especially moving forward, regardless of who's in what position, I think the most important thing is alignment, like administrative alignment from the top down, including the donors, the regents, everyone being aligned, because, what happens is if you're not aligned, it doesn't matter who the head coach is, right? I mean, they could hire Nick Saban. If there's no alignment and he's not getting the full support that he would need, especially in this era, right, where it's a lot more resource based than it is relationship based, unfortunately. But that's what it's kind of turned into. So if you don't have the alignment, you're kind of screwed. In the same token, I always think of it like, I mean, you could hire my sister and she would do well if there's alignment, right? So if you have alignment in where all the resources are going and everyone's on the same page supporting the program, then, I think that will help with future success with the football program. I'm not saying the head coaching hire is not important. That's not what I'm saying. But, you have to couple it with administrative alignment.
Yeah, I asked Brad Stevens, we were having a chat one day, and I said, well, tell me why you think the biggest reason, other than players, you got to 2 national championship games. And he said exactly what you said. He said everybody at Butler was moving in the same direction. Yeah. Everybody, whether it's a baseball coach, the janitor, everybody. Who would you like to see as a head coach at Michigan? Who, the environment, who should they hire?
I don't know. I know Biff. I like Biff. If that's who they stick with, if anything for this season, I think they'll do very well. I know the players love him. And I think he's a really good leader and a obviously very successful businessman. And again, like in this day and age where it's a very resource driven, more of a CEO type business where the head coach being a CEO is arguably more important than the head coach being some schematic guru. I think he would do well, especially, if it's this 1 year and then they're trying to find a long-term solution. And I think he'd actually make the argument that he should be a long-term solution if they give him that chance. I know you see the names DeBoer, Dillingham, Jed Fish. Yeah, I know Coach Fish pretty well. I think he'd do well. He's learned from a lot of great mentors, from Belichick to Pete Carroll. And, but I don't think – I think they're in a position where they can't really go wrong. Now, sure, are the fans going to be super stoked if they make this decision as opposed to that decision? Maybe not. But I do think that from a who's going to be the head coach standpoint, if their worst case scenario is Biff, I personally feel really good about that. Yeah. And then, if they're going to make a decision to go with DeBoer, Dillingham, and that's, I can't speak for DeBoer or Dillingham on if they would take it, right? But if that's the route they go, again, I think it's set up, it is a really good job where, hey, if you have alignment, that's kind of the disclaimer. If you have alignment, it's pretty hard to fail there. So I think it comes back to, I know that's the very political way of answering your question of saying I go back to alignment on personally, I don't think it really matters.
But doesn't that alignment, is that alignment going to include a new athletic director, or should it include a new athletic director? I mean, because that's the biggest part of that's the day-to-day alignment, right? I mean, that's what who
knows on that? I think it includes the regents and donors though too, right? Like money talks.
Yeah.
So if the donors are not in this, and I'm not saying they are or not, I'm just saying, I know how it goes, and I know this is a pivotal moment in Michigan football, right? In whatever route they choose to go. Even if they make a home run hire, but they don't have all the donors on the same page, all the regents on the same page, all it takes is one from within to botch it, right? Like it's usually, and I'm not saying it's currently a dynasty, but usually dynasties end from within. So they got to be aligned, and regardless of if that, people can focus on the AD or the regents or the donors, regardless, it's got to be all of them. They all got to be aligned. You can't have donors and regents on the same page with an athletic director that's not, or vice versa.
Hey, last thing, I meant to ask you this earlier. Was there a sense, players are people, they read, they know social media, all that kind of stuff. Last thing, was there a disappointment, or was it just, hey, business as usual, smart? Because externally it appears that Harbaugh left before it came down on him. Pete Carroll at USC. What was the feeling inside the building, and what is the feeling among people now a few years later that Harbaugh got out ahead of the posse? Is that the feeling?
I don't think so. I think, again, I mean, I can't speak for Coach Harbaugh, but it was probably a combination, and he was in constant negotiation with his own contract in Michigan. Maybe he didn't feel, maybe he felt a similar way about, maybe not getting the full aligned support from administration. On top of that, I'm sure it felt like the NCAA was targeting him. I mean, it felt the same way to me. And again, I can't speak for him, but myself personally, it's like, I mean, the NCAA is going to do what the NCAA is going to do, but hey, you're going public saying X, Y, and Z, and you haven't talked to me. So how can you say X, Y, and Z if you haven't even interviewed me? So I'm sure there were similar things with him that he probably felt like, well, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter what happened or what happens in the future. I mean, they're definitely trying to go after me. And then at the same time, if you have an opportunity to go be the head coach at the Chargers, which I know is a relatively, I'm sure it was probably a dream job for him, then the stars just kind of aligned. I don't think, I mean, most of the players that year are graduating anyway or going to the league. So, most of the guys that I talked to were in that class. So I don't think they really felt one way or the other because they were going to the NFL too. And then, I think, I think when he left, it was the combination of, I mean, how many, there were like 13 to 15 guys drafted in that same class. So no matter what, I mean, that's hard. That's tough to have a smooth transition when that many guys are leaving and the head coach is leaving and Ben Herbert, the strength coach, and Jesse Minter. And so I think it's one of those things where it is what it is. And I mean, I thought Sherrone did a pretty decent job that first year of there was a time that season after the Texas game and forget what the next loss was. Maybe it was or Oregon, maybe, where you thought like, this could be like a 6-6 type of year. And I mean, they did a good job of finishing well at that Ohio State and Alabama game at the end when it could have been easy to just kind of accept, this is a down year and we're going to end up 6-6 or whatever. So to finish how they did last year, again, that's kind of going back to your question about where I see Michigan now and how the players are responding now. It's the same mentality of like, hey, it doesn't really matter what your circumstance is. You control what you control. And I'm not saying they'll go and beat Texas, but no one's expecting it. I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
Connor, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. It's great stuff. I kept you a long time. God dang, I kept you an hour. I appreciate you spending some time with us, man. Have a great holiday. Merry Christmas.
Yes, sir. Have a good one. Great seeing you again. I know
take my lighten up.
We go way back to Maryland. That had to have been like 2014.
There it is. There we are. Two legends right there getting together in the cold. Thanks, yes, Connor. Sir. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Dan. Have a good one.
There he goes. Connor Stalions. Kept him for an hour. That's pretty good. I thank him for doing that. That's a fantastic job by everybody here on our show, and we wish him and everybody else a very, very Merry Christmas. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. It's the holiday season. It's the best time of the year for sports. Bowl games, I say it all the time, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening right this moment. And while you and I are out here making decisions every damn day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, yeah, there's only one place where it feels good to be right, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is Prize Picks. New feature alert. Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Join millions of users. Sign up for America's #1 fantasy sports app, Prize Picks. Simple to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Download the Prize Picks app today. Very simple. Use code DAKICH, DAKICH. Get $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, that's code DAKICH, DAKICH, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Thanks to everybody for watching. We will see you tomorrow.